Hi. I wanted to make this video because the only content I can find going over why Fallout Season 2 is not very good is being made by someone who fails to point out the specific flaws in writing and also has a propensity to make racist and transphobic remarks. I want to give the landscape of critiquing the show a fair shot rather than being written off simply as bigoted. As this is not my career, I will keep it brief and will probably not do a follow-up video. Also, as an aspiring writer, I wanted to vent some frustrations, but also provide some constructive feedback to what I think could have gone differently. If you enjoy the Fallout show, here's your disclaimer. I am not trying to take that away from you. Enjoy it all you want. But if you came to this video expecting a narrow-minded praising of the plot or a hard set in your decided liking, please seek entertainment elsewhere. If you are not liking it very much but aren't sure why, maybe this video will give voice to some of the things your brain noticed even if you couldn't explain it. I also want to make clear that my problems do not begin with Season 2, as I think Season 1 is rife with contrivance, character inconsistencies, and a few regular plot holes. Sometimes, these things are okay to have in your show if it helps you tell a better story. For instance, I really liked the film The Long Walk, but the ending to me felt quite contrived. The characters were so good, though, that I didn't really care. The movie is literally people walking down a road for an hour and a half, and it's very entertaining. The truth is that all stories by nature are contrived, being told by someone with an intention. The magic trick is to get your audience to forget that you, the writer, are pulling the strings. The Fallout show has failed to pull such wool over my eyes. If you would like more details about Fallout Season 1, I strongly recommend a video titled The Fallout Show: A World on Fire. It is much better than this one, I assure you. Regardless, I will be framing this video as if Fallout Season 1 were carved in stone and all avenues of its plot held water and are regarded as indisputable. To show you what I mean by logical and character knowledge inconsistencies, I want to talk about the Shady Sands scene. From here on out, spoilers for Season 2, Episodes 1 through 5. Here we have a man who is brainwashed, likely by Hank McClane, delivering a nuke to the town center. Without discussing things like where this nuke was procured, let's go into what I believe will remain an outright plot hole. This man was chipped and controlled to deliver the nuke some 20 years ago, back when Maximus was just a wee lad in a fridge. So, this mind-controlled tech was perfected then. Throughout this season, we see Hank experimenting with rats and later people to get his mind control working, but apparently it was working. 20 years ago, even. With long enough range and power to control someone to commit nuclear suicide, probably with the transmission coming from outside the blast radius. I know episode 4 or 5 mentions a crate that Hank left behind in the vault with his personal affects, so maybe he perfected it in the vault 30 years ago, but didn't have time to grab it before he got kidnapped. So he had mind control tech, he got kidnapped by Moldaver, and instead of going to get his completed tech before Season 2, he goes to the Vault Tech facility and restarts his research. Do you see how this doesn't really make sense? It just seems like an obvious oversight, and I don't really understand what Hank's thought process here is, and this is the crux of my issue with the writing. Next, let's jump over to Lucy and the Ghoul. Now, Lucy gets kidnapped by the Legion. I hate to say this, but this should be a multiple episode plot line, okay? The Legion doesn't fuck around, but that doesn't happen. She gets out by the end of the episode. The storytelling possibilities with this situation are enormous. Could you imagine a sequence of episodes where the Ghoul is abandoned by Lucy, and in realizing the error of his ways, or more so that she is the key to getting his family back, he has to fight tooth and nail to free her? He would have to track slave trader caravans, infiltrate camps to find documents, intercept those annoying war parties, maybe even giving himself in as a slave and fighting in the gladiatorial arenas so that he can get close to her and aid an escape. Because I want you to remember, the Legion is big. Estimates are from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of citizens. Their fractioning doesn't explain why they become idiots overnight. How are they idiots? Well, I'm glad you asked. They catch Lucy and bring her straight to Caesar? Already, this is incredibly dumb. You don't get caught as a thief and are immediately granted an audience with the king. Nevertheless, they do it because she's hot, I guess. At the very least, they confiscate her weapons. Mac then explains to the audience what their conflict is and shows that their enemy brothers are literally on the other side of some dirt, which is hilarious. And then they crucify her. Fine, either way she's screwed, right? I thought they were going to treat her as fodder and force her to get the note in the middle of no man's land, but that might have been fun. We have to keep moving. The Ghoul tries looking for her and runs into the last NCR camp this side of the mountains. Personally, I think it's fine that the NCR has been routed and holds little presence in the area. I believe it could happen, especially after their capital was nuked. What isn't fine is that this one NCR soldier, arguably one of 4 remaining in Nevada, knows Cooper, so he's okay. Don't worry, he's not just lucky. This is all going according to plan. Cooper sticks around, and the soldiers in camp are still waiting for their battalion. Screw moving somewhere, screw looking for survivors, finding other platoons, screw sending out radio messages to meet literally anywhere, screw reintegrating with civilians, infiltrating other factions, screw setting up a fort for your returning battalion. That comes on year 21, apparently. For now, let's keep waiting, wearing our very distinct NCR uniforms and pointing guns at strangers in the desert. I think I'm starting to realize why the NCR collapsed after Shady Sands. Look, these are not written like people. They're written like iconography that don't exist before the ghoul shows up. They don't operate like people because people don't do this. If you want to convey that the NCR has one final squad remaining, show a small cabin where 3 NCR soldiers hung up their coats and are living as subsistence farmers, unable to escape Nevada. Maybe they help travelers where they can and do their best to silently resist legionary occupation. Any idea that isn't them just playing soldier in the desert would be better than this. As I said, I do believe the NCR could lose Vegas. Do I believe that this legion could box them in? You'd have a hard time convincing me. Apparently assassinating the Caesar is as easy as asking to see their leader. They don't even confiscate your weapons anymore. So, Cooper catches up to Lucy. He convinces them that they need the location of 3 NCR soldiers more than their new decoration. I have trouble believing that this legion, currently in the middle of a civil dispute and territorial standstill, would care about 4 cut-off NCR soldiers after 20-odd years of control. But forget that, let's focus on Cooper's logic, because this right here is really bad. This is the perfect microcosm of what is wrong with the writing in this show. So let's go through it again. Lucy gets captured, Ghoul finds NCR, Ghoul sells out NCR to the Legion in exchange for Lucy. Lucy is on the decline, and on their way out, Cooper detonates a bomb in the Legion camp that begins a skirmish. Fleeing the scene, he needs to get her healed, to get her some rest and some buff out or a stim pack. What can he do? Scavenge a nearby spot for resources? Flag down a caravan? Does he rob someone he passes by? Where's the safest place that he thinks he could bring her? Why, it's the NCR camp he just sold out to the Legion. Oh my god, am I the only one who sees this as monumentally stupid? The Ghoul is implied to be this expert survivor who is 10 steps ahead of everyone, but he has the object permanence of a toddler. This camp could get attacked at any second because of what he did, and this is where he chooses to go. He's a high priority target now. The death squads could be at their heels, and the writers forget about this. I guess it would be too difficult to write a scene where he uses his survival skills, so we just get this instead. Speaking of drugs, this is a quick side note, but they have all of this buff out, and Lucy doesn't even consider the option of weaning herself off to mitigate her addiction. As someone who has quit smoking more times than I care to admit, this absolutely works, but whatever. Before we tackle the strip, I want to be clear about this. You can have changes to the canon that we're used to. I'm not angry because they changed it from the game. I'm frustrated because it's so lazy and unbelievable, and nobody seems to notice. If everything was exactly the same, this show would be boring. But speaking of things that are not exactly the same, let's move on to the strip. Apparently, we are supposed to assume that the entire settlement of Freeside is trapped in by, or living right next to Deathclaws, without any sort of concerted effort to get rid of them. The only reaction we get is from this bartender who says that he's fine with it so long as the Deathclaws don't charge him taxes. Did they forget that there are weapon stores here? The Silver Rush, Mick and Ralph's? The followers of the apocalypse? Hell, even the NCR was known for having a lot of dynamite. Oh wait, the NCR disappeared, so who took the strip then? The Legion doesn't appear to be here. Is nobody interested in the money printer the Deathclaws are shitting all over? These people look perfectly calm. Currency isn't gone, folks. The strip is incredibly valuable. The fact that an 8-foot-tall wall separating a town from building-destroying Deathclaws apparently never bothered the visual team. Again, it feels like a static world that only exists once Lucy and the ghouls show up. Real people wouldn't live like this, making the world not very believable. I'm trying to be constructive, so here's my advice. People don't care about facts in stories. We live next to Deathclaws. Okay, so? What are you going to do about it? What about 2 people's conflicting views on how to tackle the issue? That's where intrigue comes from. They attempt this with the conflicting views of Ghoul and Lucy, but the writers don't realize that the background characters live here for years and years before this moment. There would be spitballing of ideas all the time. Hell, throw your fastest guy in there to bait out the death claws and then get in a tall building with a sniper and shoot the bastards. That took me about 4 seconds to come up with, but nope, they're still here. To round out this section on the strip, I want to address the twist of Cooper and his intentions with Lucy. While it's not the worst twist in the world, I do feel it's a bit cheap because he is a viewpoint character. When you have a viewpoint character who withholds information from the audience for the sake of a twist, you forsake audience goodwill for shock. At face value, the twist is fine and makes sense with his character motivation. Worse, though, is that the logic falls apart. We are told that the ghoul has been hunting his family for 2 centuries. He finally finds the man with answers, and instead of a 10-minute interrogation, which any rational person might do, he lets Hank run away so that they can have a chase across the Mojave in Season 2. Like, if they didn't talk then when did they talk? It doesn't feel like Cooper made a choice here. It feels like the writers thought it played well mid-season. That's all I have to say about that. It's not the worst twist in the world, but it does make me wonder when and how this conversation happened. I don't really want to talk about the Brotherhood. All I'll say is this. Cold fusion, the most important piece of technology they have, possibly the most important piece of technology in the world. So, where are the guards? Fucking LOL, dude. I don't think anybody really likes this plotline anyway, so I'm not going to go into depth. But what Bethesda has done to this side of the coast is just sad. There is no faction except for the Brotherhood, and they aren't even the Brotherhood anymore. Now they're a bunch of frat bros who like to do 2 things, blow shit up and fuck shit up. It's about the degradation, so you can see how far they've fallen. Dude, nobody in this show acts like how they're supposed to. Like, if you want that to be a part of your show, then fine. Do it for one faction. Do it for just the Brotherhood. But literally every institution is turned on its head. The Brotherhood doesn't hoard pre-war tech. They destroy it and are stupid. The NCR isn't bloated with the faults of bureaucracy. They are small and few and scattered and are stupid. The Legion isn't efficient, cunning, and disciplined. They're goofy, vaguely threatening, and are stupid. Fallout as a franchise is about how even after humanity nearly destroyed itself, we arise and continue our tribalistic bantering. It's not about the apocalypse, per se, but it's about human nature. Yet Bethesda seems very, very keen on taking anything close to resembling a society and knocking it down back to apocalyptic levels. Remember that one store in Freeside that Lucy visits where the shopkeeper is murdered? Like, who is this guy? What is the life expectancy in New Vegas? 3 days? You realize most people living in the apocalypse are still people. They're not all batshit insane. We all require cooperation, even if it is within tribes. If you nuked our society right now, I guarantee you that after the dust settles, people will be scrambling to set up systems that allow them to operate with assurances of safety and benefits that come with the specialization of individuals. Even on a small scale like Freeside, a murder like the one in the shop here should be rare. But Lucy needs to run into the most Fallout thing that can happen, and that means apocalyptic chaos and murder, right? In conclusion, this show is a roller coaster, and I mean that in the worst way. It's a haunted house ride that shows you Fallout things. Even if I didn't like the games, this would still be bad. It's not good storytelling, and I won't apologize for saying that. The wardrobe, acting, and set dressing are all great. I think the show looks pretty damn good, aside from some clunky action or inconsistent visuals. But that's all just icing. The rest of this cake tastes like crap. Thank you for watching. This script was off the dome and not really something I went through with a fine-tooth comb. I really just needed to vent. Please continue enjoying the show if you want. I will most certainly continue to hate watch it. Goodbye.